الذي لا يموت ذي الملك والملكوت والعزة والجبروت أحمد ربي وأشكره وأتوب إليه وأستغفره وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله القاهر فوق عباده يفعل ما يشاء ويحكم ما يريد وأشهد أن نبينا ورسولنا وحبيبنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه الحنفاء أما بعد فاتقوا الله بطلب رضوانه والبعد عن عصيانه فتقوى الله صلاح أحوالكم في حياتكم والعدة لما أمامكم تخافون وما تحذرون هي الحصن من المهلكات وبها وعد الله الجنات. Like Brother George called me a couple of hours ago and he was asking me to be the khatib today, and I was driving in the car. And it's honor to be here on the minbar of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam all the time. It's honor. It's a big responsibility. And it's honor to be with you again and see all of you here. Alhamdulillah. Then the second question jumped up in my head and then start thinking about what is subject of my khutbah today. What do I have to discuss? What do I have to tell? In a very short khutbah due to the COVID. And speaking about COVID, this would jump up in my head, subhanallah. 1 month ago, exactly was November the 11th, I woke up before Fajr and I have pain in my chest. And then I'm asking my wife as a physician, I think I have COVID symptoms. Then she started asking me about what symptoms do you have? I thought that maybe it's allergy. I have allergy all the time at this time of the year. And then move on the day, eat a breakfast and go do everything that you do every day. Then by the end of the day, I start feeling bad. Then I have to go get tested. I went to get tested on that day and I was positive. Well, then the question sometimes jumps up in your head, how I get the COVID and from where? It's more than $1 million question, which now is not worth even a penny question because you don't need the answer now because you start have to deal with the consequences, the symptoms, the treatment, all of that. What is the subject for my khutbah today is 1 week later. Like the first week, I was fine. I didn't feel, bad symptoms. But said, subhanallah, 1 week later, then I start feeling so tired, fatigue, short of breath. And then by 1 in the morning, that Friday, 3 weeks ago, I checked my temperature, it was 103 or 104. I checked my pulse to see the average, the level of oxygen. It was supposed to be normal, 96. 92 is okay. Mine dropped down to 82. I said, this is a critical now. Then you start thinking about al-maut. You start thinking about death. It is a critical time in your life. You start thinking about death, subhanallah. What do I have to do now? You start thinking about your family. You start thinking about all things that maybe you have done in your life. You start thinking about where did I deposit something or did I hide something in the backyard or in the mattress? All of that comes up to your mind. This is the subject I wanted to discuss today. You say, Sheikh, subhanallah, you want to discuss with us al-maut? You didn't find another subject to discuss. Let's discuss about the hurriyat in Jannah. It's a very exciting subject to talk about. But wallah, it is a subject that very important. It is very important why I went through this. And I thought I was dying that day. I was very critical for the first 48 hours in the hospital with the oxygen and given all the steroid and fluids and vitamins. Then that time you start thinking about death. Al-Maut. Al-Maut, subhanallah, is very qareeb. Each of us, one of us will be close one day to death. Well, then you think about it, what I have done in my life. What are the good deeds? What are the bad deeds I have done in my life? Are my good deeds in the balance, in the mizan, are heavier or lighter than the bad deeds? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Quran Kareem, وَإِنَّ إِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ الْمُنْتَهَى وَإِنَّ إِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ الْمُنْتَهَى. That to Allah is final goal. The final goal is to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-Maut is the death, is the final stage in your life, and the first step, the first step in the life after al-hayatul akhirah. So each of us will taste this death. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has written this, even it's not just human beings, the anbiya. But the difference between us and the anbiya, the prophets and the messengers, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them the choice. Have given the choice to be stay here in this hayat dunya or choose the death. And all of them, subhanallah, have chosen to die because they wanted to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then angels, the angels, all of them, as you know, all Jibreel, Mikael, Israfil, all of these, they will die. They will taste the death. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Quran Kareem, كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذي الجلال والإكرام. كل من عليها فان. All that is on earth will perish. Then, what is the maut? The death is one of ayat Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of his signs to the human being. Because by death, it's end of life. It's end of all the pleasures that you are having on this hayat dunya. Riding the luxury cars, eating the great tasty food, living in huge houses. It is end of it. You think about it. And that's why, subhanallah, I was thinking about it that morning, Friday morning, that it is just end. And when you start doing that time, making the dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. رَبِّ تَوَفَّنِي مُسْلِمًا وَأَلْحِقْنِي بِالصَّالِحِينَ. That's the dua of Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam. رَبِّ تَوَفَّنِي مُسْلِمًا وَأَلْحِقْنِي بِالصَّالِحِينَ. He wanted to die as a Muslim and then be followed and be on the track of the righteous people. That was the dua. Al-Maut, adl min Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's fair from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that everyone, each soul that will taste the death, and all the human beings and all the makhluqat, all the creatures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they will taste the death. كل نفس ذائقة الموت ثم إلينا ترجعون. كل نفس ذائقة الموت. Every soul will taste death. Then you shall return to us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as I said, by the death, it's end of all the life and the pleasure that you are having in the life. And then you have to be ready to the life after. You have to be ready to the life of qabr, in the grave. You be taken to the graveyard. And then once they just bury the deceased person, subhanallah, it takes just minutes. The time they start leaving, يَسْمَعْ وَقْعَ أَقْدَامِهِمْ. He will start, the deceased person in his qabr, in his grave, will start hearing the footprint of people that are leaving the grave. Subhanallah, khalas, they left you. You are alone by yourself. You will be responsible for all your deeds in this hayat dunya. they will ask you, the angels. Are we ready for that? Are we ready to answer these questions? Well, answer not the questions, answer them correctly. Man Rabbuk? Who's your Lord? Who's your Ilah? So you have to answer these questions correctly. Wallahi, subhanallah, you are a true Muslim, you are a good Muslim. It's easy question. It's like 1 + 1. It's like ABC. You have learned this all ABC in your life from your parents, from school, from muallim, from your teachers, from your good friends. The suhbah as-salihah, the good friendship, you learn all of that from them. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فيا فوز المستغفرين استغفر الله. الحمد لله وكفى والصلاة والسلام على النبي المصطفى. To be ready, الاستعداد للموت, to be ready for death. How we can be ready for death? It's a big question. It's a good question. How I can be ready? Because we know from the first khutbah, the death will come to all of us. One day it will come to all of us. None of us will be saved of it. But then I have to be prepared for that day. From my personal experience, wallah, it was a great experience to learn that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you another new life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with all his greatness, blessing, has given me a new life. So then I have to be ready for the maut. How I can be ready for it? You do, you practice, you implement all the fara'id that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has asked you to do, from salat, from zakat, from hajj, from all the ibadat. Make sure that you are doing that. What is the other important thing is to avoid what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks you not to do in your life. ابتعد عن الكبائر. Be away from committing sins in your life, and that is a great thing. And then إذا حقوق العباد. Wallah, this is very important thing, because you will practice salat and you will say salat 5 times a day, and then inshallah you will fast Ramadan, and then inshallah you will do the zakat if you are capable financially to do it. But what is the other thing? حقوق العباد, the rights of human beings, the rights of rights of your sisters, rights of your neighbors, right of your brothers, all of that. If you have taken something from them, give it back to them, because this is what will save you. Don't take any of حقوق العباد, because you will be asked about it in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why you didn't pay his money back? Why you didn't give him his haqq in his property? And we have these issues and we have all these problems in the community, especially among the businessmen here. Kitabat wasiyah. Make sure, wallah, make sure you have a will. Make sure you have a will right now. Even if you are young, just arrange with a lawyer a meeting and write down a will, because this is very important for all of this. I know because we're trying to have a very short khutbah, as I promised them, for 15-16 minutes, but I hope that inshallah I given the message about the death, isti'dad for it, pre-prepared for it, and then do all the hukuk. Be just ready. Again, my message in this khutbah, be ready for death, because you don't know when it will come, what time, and then وَمَا تَدْرِ نَفْسٌ بِأَيِّ أَرْضٍ تَمُوتُ. You don't know where will you die. Maybe you will be traveling to Indonesia or whatever, any country in the whole world, and then you will die there. وَمَا تَدْرِ نَفْسٌ بِأَيِّ أَرْضٍ تَمُوتُ. Be ready for it, inshallah. عباد الله إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما فصلوا وسلموا على سيد الأولين والآخرين وإمام المرسلين اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى سيدنا إبراهيم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما باركت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى سيدنا إبراهيم وارض اللهم عن الصحابة أجمعين والخلفاء الراشدين الأئمة المهديين وعن سائر أصحاب نبيك أجمعين وعن التابعين اللهم احسن عاقبتنا في أمورنا كلها. اللهم أجرنا من خزي الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم أجرنا من خزي الدنيا وعذاب الآخرة. يا حي يا قيوم برحمتك نستغيث. اللهم اصلح لنا شأننا كله. اللهم اصلح لنا شأننا كله. اللهم أعذنا من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا، وأعذنا من شر كل ذي شر يا رب العالمين. اللهم آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله العظيم الجليل يذكركم، واشكروه على نعمه يذكركم، ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. وأقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. حي على الصلاة، حي على الفلاح، قد قامت الصلاة، قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
صلوا بقلوب خاشعة وصلوا صلاة المودع. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. ولله ما في السماوات والأرض والله على كل شيء قدير. إن في خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف الليل والنهار لآيات لأولي الألباب الذين يذكرون الله قياما وقعودا وعلى جنوبهم ويتفكرون في خلق السماوات والأرض ربنا ما خلقت هذا باطلا فقنا عذاب النار. ربنا ما خلقت هذا باطلا سبحانك فقنا عذاب النار. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. استغفر